Buddy, good morning. Looks Chile, Colorado. that sounds like a dish there, Rob. Chile, Colorado. And welcome everybody. Let's see, we got Gayton, Larry, Dan, B, Don, Jan, Catherine. Almost said Kathleen because it's my sister-in-law. Sledge, Tara, Diane, Ted, Craig, Reggett, Serge, Rob, Jim, Kathy, David. Will the market go wild in a good way? Let's ask. Let's see what everybody thinks. Will the market go wild in a good way today? Let's start a poll. Let's see. Let's see what everybody thinks. David, Pauline, Mad, Frank, Ed, Terry, Svenborn, Ray, Darren, Mark, General Rush, good to see you, sir. Gary, Brian, Kevin, Jason. Buenos dias, senors and senoritas. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome. So, NVIDIA had earnings, right? That was the big show this week. We've got lots of other shows, but that's the big show. And, let's talk about this kid. He wanted to be like an AI influencer. I asked him what that even means. He said, I don't know, but it sounds like it pays well. And you know what? He's not wrong. Welcome to the AI gold rush of 2025. It's been a wild ride so far. It's a time when even teenagers can just throw spaghetti at the wall, and maybe even your grandma. Try to figure out how to get a piece of the action. This is what bubble type stuff is, everybody. And just like any gold rush, there's a few people selling the picks and shovels, and those people making an absolute killing, which brings us to the main story of NVIDIA. Last night, in a result that actually shocked nobody, NVIDIA announced their quarterly earnings and blew it out. They didn't just beat expectations. They took expectations, laughed at them, and then said, here's the real numbers way up here. And blew out pretty much every metric out there. Now, to put this in terms of a high school student, so they can understand, imagine that you're supposed to sell $55 worth of lemonade, right? Instead, you sell $57 worth. Not bad. But if your real business is the one that everybody cares about, what if that real business is selling lemonade machines? And you sold so many of those lemonade machines that your revenue went up from those by 66% in a single year. That's what NVIDIA just did in their data center business. We're talking about over $51 billion in revenue from just that one data center division. That's more than the entire economy of a lot of countries in this world, just from one business segment, from one company. And here's the kicker, the big kicker, the line that should be echoing every investor's head this morning. The CEO, Jensen Huang, in his classic leather jacket, basically said, I'm kind of paraphrasing here, get this, we are sold out. Their new ultra-powerful Blackwell GPUs, off the charts. The cloud GPUs that power everything from your Netflix recommendations to your AI influencers to ChatGPT to you name it, they're gone. They're sold out. And, I forget. Let me set that back over here. And, that's wild, right? It's kind of wild. It's kind of like hot new sneakers on release day or the hot new gaming console on release day. But for a giant that's making thousands and thousands of these, and it's a world-changing kind of economy. But what does this mean for us? Well, think like a prospector, right? You got a few ways to play this. First, if you can invest in the company NVIDIA, Right now, they're the undisputed king, but the law of big numbers says they're going to have a hard time going higher. They have the best gear. Everybody needs it. It's a pricey stock, no doubt. But when you're the king's going to be the king until it's not the king. You can charge a premium when everybody wants what you got. Number 2, you can invest in the miners. The gold miners, that is. These are the big tech giants, the hyperscalers. They're buying up these GPUs. They're reselling that access to other people. We're talking about the Amazons, the Microsofts, the Googles, the Metas. They're spending hundreds of billions of dollars to build out AI infrastructure. And now this is a bit more of a gamble. As we saw in the recent earnings, the markets are starting to ask, all right, cool, you're spending a bunch of money. When are you going to pay for this? How are we going to get returns? Amazon, Google, they have a good story. They have a good plan. I mean, Amazon just built a brand new big data center and leased out the whole darn thing. Microsoft, despite its strong growth, is making some investors a little bit nervous with its we're going to spend at all costs type of approach. And Meta, well, let's just say the market is having flashbacks of metaverse spending spree, and it's not really a pleasant memory for those that wrote it down. Number 3, third way you could play. You can invest in the towns that are springing up around the gold mines. These are the companies that provide the essential services. Think about data center operators. They house all these GPUs. They power the power companies that provide the massive amounts of electricity. The networking companies that wire everything together. I mean, it's great. You build an AI data center, you got GPUs, but how do people like us actually use those? You got to have internet connections. You got to have connectivity. You got to have Arista networks. And you've even got companies that NVIDIA doesn't make their own GPUs. So you got Taiwan Semiconductors, TSMC. They actually make the chips for NVIDIA. Those are kind of the unsung heroes out there. They're making a fortune, but they have their own missteps too. Now, of course, there's always a skeptical uncle in any family meal, any family get together. The one who says, this is a bubble, this is going to crash. And to be quite honest, he's not wrong. We should be cautious. NVIDIA has a lot of eggs, and they're all in one basket. 4 customers make up 60% of the revenue. And this AI spending spree, can it go on forever? You know, at some point, somebody's going to have to justify all this spending. But for now, the gold rush is on, baby. The race is still going. The race to the moon. But if we get to the moon, what happens then? The miners are digging, the towns are booming, the guy that's selling the picks and shovels can't keep anything in stock. My advice, get a piece while it's still hot. We'll look at this in hindsight later and what a story it's going to be. But you should get involved. You can be the one selling the tools, or you can be the one digging for gold, or you can be building a town around it, or you can be a piece of all of it. Because one thing's for sure, this is a story and it's still just kind of getting started. You don't have to be any kind of AI influencer to get a piece of this action. So be careful out there. Be careful out there. Party's on for now. Party on, Wayne. Party on, Garth. Might I remind you, let me pull over this chart and show it to you. Just want to be clear. This is what we could be looking at right here. This was the internet bubble right here in blue. All right, big tech, internet bubble. Look how kind of parallel we're flying here. We could have a little bit more run. We could have this big explosion. We've not really seen, there's lots of projects and lots of angel investing going on out there, but we're not seeing any of these big companies hit the streets. OpenAI is not public. Perplexity, not really public. Anthropic, you name it. Like, there's a lot of these big AI type companies that are out there that aren't going public yet. When we see that, possibly that could be a sign of getting toward the end. Right? That's what we saw on the .com. Like, anybody with a .com, they come out with their .com, they launch the website, they blah, 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 hype it up. You didn't know what the fudge they did. They didn't have any plan for making money. They go public, get a bunch of money. Everybody be rich. Stock price would just keep ripping. And then we hit the top. So, looking at the S&P over here, well, some choppiness. Seems like what we're getting right now, right? We're getting some of this choppiness. We hit some new highs and we pulled back, and we could keep doing that. This could continue on for another year or so. Might have some big fits and swings. I mean, that's hundreds of points. Speaking of hundreds of points, that looks like hundreds of points, right? Went from up here, came down here. That's 342 points. That looks eerily kind of like what we're doing. And that right there may have been exactly what we just did. This little touch right below 7,000. Pull back. It's kind of crazy how history repeats. That was like 20-something years ago. Yet here we are doing the same freaking price action. Almost exactly the same. But hey, there's nothing to this price action stuff, right? Anyway, I digress. Let's check out what's going on over here. I really like this. As I mentioned yesterday, that move could be done. And we're starting to have a potential 5 up in here. Potential. Needs a little more confirmation. I was very worried about this yesterday afternoon. Coming into the 2 o'clock hour here. I was very concerned because this pattern was the same on pretty much everything I watch. It was the same on this chart. 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 Right here. Funny enough. It was the same on this chart. We had the same freaking pattern on every chart. That kind of freaked me out a little bit. Now, the results have not been the same across all those charts. S&P going a little higher. Now, I do caution here. Get down at that low, come up to this high. On that retrace, we need to push this up here, not stop here. This could just be a big A, B, C, and that can result in a big deep retrace back down in here, or a lower low. So be careful. Even though we're up 100 points coming into the open. If we can get continuation, great. If we get a pullback, not so great. Now, looking at this, the beginning of this looks like A, B, C, then a pullback. Is that 1, 2, or is that, or is this an A, be, and this was a 5 up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, C, and this was the downtrend, and this is the correction, and this is the continuation. That's not good. So this is the crux of what we got going on here. This could just be an ABC correction, and we turn this right back around into selling. All right. Let's be careful. Not convinced. You know, this little 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right there. Same kind of thing over here. When you start looking at it, that could be A, B, C, or a W, X, and this could be a Y. Either way, don't really care which way it would go. Fact of the matter is, we could be topping out. If we start breaking below this level, that's your warning sign. That's your initial warning sign that we're going back down below this low. Same over here. Break below this high. That's your initial warning sign that we could be going back down lower low. Hate to be the bearer of bad news. This is not awesome price action. Now, this one right here, a little bit different. A lot of it different, actually. That looks constructive as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Didn't overlap. That's good. Don't see that in the other indexes. Nice retrace. There's the first move up. There's the retrace. Hit the 618. Got some upside momentum here. That looks like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 again. This is starting to look like something that might get some continuation. Be like, well, it stops here. So what we want to see is we want to see this get a retrace. We might see some softness here. See this get a retrace. Set up this would be a big 1, a big 2, and this would be a little baby 1. This would be a little baby 2. And we want to see this get a 3 up in here. Oh, cool. 2, 2, 2. And that 3, we want to see it get up to 24.50. So I actually want to see a pullback here, back to the lows from early this morning, rallying up strong, but I want to see it back to the lows early this morning and then a bounce like this. That's what I want to see. Now, if we do get a pullback here, and then we do come up to here, and then fail back below here, that's probably going lower low. So very fine difference in the price action there on the path forward. And these are the futures. You're trying to watch the cash indexes. You're working with incomplete information. Why do I say that? Look, there's a giant gap right here, and we don't have any information on what happened overnight. There's a giant gap over here. There's a giant gap over here. There's a giant gap over here. That's incomplete information. Another gap right there. Sure, the gaps fill in, but it leaves incomplete information. So I come over here, look at the ES chart, what happened overnight. It fills in those gaps for me. Now, looking at the cash index here. Big 3-wave retrace. This could be complete. The trend has been up into this correction that has lasted from late October here to the week before Thanksgiving. kind of talked about this, that we may need a big correction. Even remember me talking about we may need a bigger correction into early mid-November so that we could do the Santa rally. Maybe this ring a bell? You can let me know in the chat if that rings a bell at all. Talked about it for quite a while. How it was going to unfold, wasn't exactly sure. Still not exactly sure how the upside unfolds either. This can push us up into Q1 2026. Now, be careful. I don't know that the correction is done on, I don't know that we bottomed yet is the problem. So it could still, you know, Thanksgiving week is always roll the dice. I don't typically make much money Thanksgiving week. Been doing this with real money since the late 90s. I've been watching the markets on and off since I was 8 years old. It's getting to be close to 40 years. Thanksgiving week is not a great week to be a trader, typically. Usually it's low volume. A lot of traders take the week off. They turn off the machines a little bit. We get some nasty pullbacks sometimes. Thanksgiving during the dot-com bubble was rough. I remember that. And you know, it's just the way things are. So be careful next week is the moral of the story, I guess you might say. Today we should be getting some data dumps. Yeah, we got these numbers here. Unemployment rate came in high. We're not going to get the other data for December. And we skipped October. I don't think we're going to get December's data till after the FOMC. So they may have to make their rate change decision on this number alone. That'd be interesting. Got lots of FOMC members speaking for the next 2 days. We've got that FOMC meeting coming up. The 10th. Yeah. So next week, holiday week. Markets close Thursday, half day Friday. I'll be here. I'm taking the Thursday off. I'm not going to be here talking crypto or anything on Thursday, but I'll be back on Friday. Same bat time, same bat channel next week. The week after, a normal week. Week after that, FOMC week. Week after that, the week before Christmas. Then another holiday week. Another holiday week. We get these back-to-back holiday weeks. Market closed. Market closed. I'm taking both those days off. I'll be here these days. Market's back open. And we're going to wrap this baby up. 2025 going to be in the books. So if you haven't done good this year, what are you going to do next year? What's the plan? Right? Now's the time to start thinking about it. This has been my plan. I'm going to keep working this plan. It's my 50K challenge plan. In case you haven't seen it, the goal is to build this account that makes 50K, this number, 1 month profit, 50K. That's the goal. Right now, nowhere near the goal. Right? We can all see that. Ah, there, refreshed it. 6K. This is still nowhere near the goal. Nowhere near the goal. Got a long way to go with the 50K. I'm going to be doing this for a few years. This is my plan. What's your plan? Do you have a plan? You have some way to measure your plan? You got to make smart goals. You know, you got to have a, you know, it's got to be sustainable. It's got to be attainable. It's got to be measurable. It's got to have a timeline to it. I'm trying to get there in 5 years. And you analyze and adjust. If you're not going on, like, my plan slowed down here, so I made a change and started picking up the pace a little bit. Started adding, you know, some other trades to the repertoire. I'm very serious about this 50K goal. Like, this is not just me screwing around. This is real taxable income, real taxable money. 35K so far this year, 7 months of time. I'd like to see this on up quite a bit. So, got to keep at it. Now, how do you know, you can say buy high, buy low, sell high. You know, that's a plan to make, like, that's a way to make money in the market. But what's your plan? What do you trade? You know, this is what goes in a plan. What do I trade? How do you define it? All right, that's number one. What are you going to trade? You know, how are you going to trade it? What's your setup? Or what are your setups? What things do you watch for? When do you know you're wrong? When do you take profit? When do you know you're right? How do you do that again? How often are you going to do it? These things go into a plan. Should be a repeatable plan so that you can get repeatable results. See, I look at a lot of people's P&L and it looks like this. Right? Does that look like your account? This right here is a sustainable, repeatable way to make money. What have I been trading? Oh, that's cool. It crashed out. Symbols. Here you go. NASDAQ, DocuSign, DJT, Chewy, IBIT, Rocket Lab, TSLL, Delta Airlines, Dollar Tree, Celsius, IWM, Gap, Merck, SPX, Doge, Chipotle, Google, SoundHound, United Airlines, Bank of America. Wherever lost money, IWM, EWZ, VIX, Bank of America, FXB, Doge, that's Dogecoin. What's been the best? Rocket Lab, DJT, NASDAQ right behind it now. This one's probably going to jump up here, be number 2 pretty soon. There you go. That's how I measure it. That's how I keep up with it. Make sure you have a plan. If you haven't had a plan in 2025, let's get you on a plan for 2026. Wow, that thing coming down. Whew. Big drop on VIX. Nice pop on SVXY. That was a good buy, Wrongamer. Good buy. That was the entry back here. Still looking for the target up here. Beer money trade turned into Scotch money trade. I mean, but it's sustainable. It's repeatable. Has rules. And it's just another trade in the repertoire. Curious. What are you curious about? The trade in July was Rocket Lab. That we did that live. It's no secret. All the trades are right here. You can go look at the trades. They're all public. You probably have to have an account, but you can roll back and look at every single trade. Rocket Lab was just doing the same thing I did on every other trade. It's just that it worked faster than the plan. Right back. Keep rolling, keep rolling, keep rolling. We're almost there. Rocket Lab. I traded Rocket Lab a whole bunch of times. Rocket Lab. Rocket Lab. Rocket Lab. Started back in May. Rocket Lab, Rocket Lab. You see these trades over and over. Did a bunch of trades on Rocket Lab, and then it hit the target. So why'd I quit? Why'd I book it? Because it hit the target. What was the target? Easy peasy lemon squeezy. What was the pattern? Where'd I start trading it? Where'd I stop trading it? What's the pattern? It's the roadmap pattern. Started trading it right here. I thought we would break higher. Guess what? I actually didn't get it. I didn't get put to me till right here. I started trading it early May. Got it put to me right here. Didn't have shares, just sold cash secured puts through this move. Got more aggressive and got it put to me here. Wrote it up with shares, got out right there. Haven't touched it. What did it do since then? Big bunch of nothing. Probably actually below where I sold it. Move on to the next one. There's like 8,000 stocks. Probably 4,000 of them that are liquid enough to actually trade. That's a lot of opportunity every day. Probably more stuff than any one person could look at every day. I have tools that go find the patterns that are set up every day. Like I've got 2 of them today. Same pattern, look for every day. That one, probably not the best. It's not an uptrend. It's kind of a downtrend, but it's still the pattern. Here's the high. Here's the low. There's the 618, 1189. Could you make big money on that? Probably not. LNC. And this one just stopped out. 3-wave down. Here's the high. Here's the low. There's the next entry. 2460 potential. Can you make big money on that? Probably not. It's back to what do you trade? What do you look for? I trade this pattern. How do I trade it? I have different ways I do it. Not the same way all the time. People say the pattern doesn't work. I think it does work. Works 75% of the time. Works on all time frames. You just have to know how you're going to play it. Like just buying long calls, maybe not the best way all the time. Like I have the Apollo system that runs on a 30-minute time frame. Runs on like 300 of the most liquid tickers with options. When you get these setups, how are you going to play it? You can play it with some selling puts. You could play it with shares. You could play it with debit spreads. And this one's running a little light on this time frame. 75% of the time, they work out. And this one's running a little heavy on this time frame. 83.6%, 61 trades. This one works really good on this time frame. That's statistically significant. That's statistically significant. That's statistically significant. When Google fires off this on a 30-minute time frame, probably a pretty good one to trade. That one worked out. Didn't actually trigger it right here. I have a system that puts these out. It's called Apollo on a 30-minute time frame. I have another system, pumps them out on the 1-hour time frame. It's called Echo Trades. Here's another one, 75 wins. This one bounces more on an hourly chart than it does on the 30-minute chart. A little bit less awesome and a little bit less awesome. Take that into account. Don't risk as much when the profit factor is not as high. Now, past performance not necessarily indicative of future results. And this one, another good one on the 1 hour. 66, that's statistically significant. 77, profit factor 2.1. Good stuff. See these? That could be an opportunity when it sets up. Sometimes it goes really fast. These are repeatable patterns. You may be like, I don't understand what the alerts are. I give you all the data. It's just a matter of you taking the patience and the discipline to spend time to understand what I'm giving you. What's crazy is I've built a system that sits here and grabs all the statistical data right here, draws the chart, points out the high, points out the low, draws the fib line on there, draws the target, gives it to you. Now you look at this and you're like, all right, well, target up, high, low. Yeah. So the missing data here, I need to probably go through and update it just a touch and give you whether it's statistically significant or not. Seems to matter more than I thought it did when I first built the system. And that was OVV was a 30-minute setup. If you want to see the 1-hour setups, I don't think if my, there we go. Let me get this in access here. Like Carvana right here. That's the day. Carvana. There you go. There's the high. There's the low. Very similar to Apollo, just a different time frame, different set of tickers. They don't run on the same set of tickers. CVNA. $35, statistically significant. 68. You got to think about it. That's less than the average. The average trade, average ticker, across 4,000 tickers and probably 100,000 trades at this point, 75%. This one loses more than the average. Profit factor 1 just chops up your money. 35 is statistically significant. Maybe not the best to go after. Lost money, downtrend. Is it going to lose money? This is how you make your decision, all right? Now the question about Cashbot came up in the chat yesterday, sometime, maybe it was last night. Cashbot runs on indexes. Fingers on the right keys. SPY. Here's the trades that it goes after. Does it always win? No. 75% of the time. And that's just for the last couple months. Look at the all-time history. It's going to take it a second. Let me know in the chat if this is helpful. Getting closer to 80% of the time. Right here. 3,000 trades. Profit factor, kind of flat. So this means you got to do something besides just trade straight shares. to up your win rate, up your profit factor. All right. So what I did to up the win rate here, up the profit factor here, is built a credit spread trade. Now, any given month might be well below this 80%. But look at that, just like the last month. Look how nasty that's been. What does that mean? It means we're probably going to have a win streak that's ridiculous in here sometime. I don't know when. So this is 13 trades is not statistically significant. Then like this is not like you shouldn't glean anything out of here. Like it doesn't mean anything. You can flip a coin and get 13 heads in a row. Does that mean that it's a 100% chance that you're going to get heads every time you flip the coin? No. We all know from lots of statistics that it's 50-50. Maybe there's a slight chance if the coin isn't perfectly balanced that it favors one side. But in general, it's a 50-50 chance when you flip a coin, right? With a proper flip. So this is, I know people are bummed out on CashBot. Like, that was a sucky start. 23% win rate. That sucks. You look at the 90-day. It's not even back to the average yet. Look at the last year. Still running a little bit below the average for the long term. When we look at the entire history, it pops up to right at 80% just for SPY. Now, QQQ. Update the report. Updating. Look, it runs better than SPY. 83.4, 3,000 trades. A little bit better profit factor. Look at the last 30 days. It's been running better, but it's still sucky. 11 trades, 36%. Can I help that? No, there's nothing I can do. I'm not going to change the system. Shoot, no. Long-term history says this is a winning strategy. It's been running under performance. Can I help that? No. Should I do anything about it? I just scaled back a little bit my last 30 days as I watched the statistics go kind of crap. Analyze and adjust. What's happening? If you just go at it naively, you don't have a plan, what the heck? What the heck are you doing? Now, triple threat, it's my day trade strategy. Goes even faster, 1 minute time frame. These trades usually only last about an hour. These have been pretty okay the last 3 months. Last 30 days, pretty okay. You gotta adjust to the time frame, but then profit factor negative here. Profit factor positive over the 90 days. Profit factor negative over the month. How do you know it's going to be bad month? You don't. But if you start changing what you're doing, you can adjust when you see outsized risk. And I ran a bunch of these through the AI. It said when the risk reward is skewed, and you have like an outsized risk to the reward, when they're 1-to-1, they tend to work. When you've got like a crazy risk to a small reward, they tend to fail. Something to keep in mind. So how do we make money today? Bitcoin still hanging out at support. So far, we're holding on to that 618. But as I said yesterday, Ethereum might need a flash down here. We might not be able to do that during the week while the market's open. We may see a big flush out over the weekend. Is it this weekend or is it next weekend? We may hang in here for another week till we get to Thanksgiving holiday, and then the rest of the world flushes it out while the U.S. is eating turkey and having a comatose watching sports ball. NKD turning the bottom a little bit. Here's the high. Here's the low. Watch for break through the 618 right there at 51,200. We get through that. Probably taking it on up. 53, 54, 55 would be the goal posts. Coming right up to right up to it. Is that a double top or are we going to break through? Now, very classically, after we do a pullback, we come up, we make a high, we'll do a pullback. This pullback is the one that tells us, like, can we hold here and go? Or do we break down here and do this part? So this will be the important tell. If we just break out now, fine. But if we're going to do a retrace, this will be the tell right there. That'll tell the story. Break through the 618, probably coming down here. We'll hunt for that 98.5, and if we get below it, probably going lower low than we did back here in September. If we can break through here, probably going up to 102. And if we get above that, it kicks off a short squeeze in the short dollar trade because of this massive short dollar trade that's happened all year this year so far. 102 is kind of the magic kick off the squeeze. Apple. Let's crack a lacking. Apple dumpling. Coming back up. That correction, ABC, potentially done. Potential to go on up to 285. Amazon, so far holding on to the roadmap line, but there's no green candles in this drop, not even today. That's indicative we're going to break through and go on lower. Google, well, tag the target. Be careful. This may need another resty or retrace before we can go on up to the next target. 337. Meta. That may be it. We may have hit the bottom here. That could be the bottom. Look for that to hold and start some positive momentum here. Microsoft still being soft. Looking for this to tag that level down there around 480. 480. And if we don't hold it, we could do a bigger, deeper retrace like Meta. NVIDIA, nice pop. If we can't get through that 199 level though, destined to come back down. Tesla, nice pop. Need to see that through the 618. 435, kick off the bigger upside. It's really encouraging. Maybe I can roll some stuff today. And Netflix, as predicted, the split was going to be negative. Probably coming down here. CLS, probably coming down here. So on X, on Reddit, on Wall Street Bets and all the things, there's a whole misguided set of traders that think regular stock splits are bad. When you go from a high price stock to a low price stock, that's bad. When you do a reverse split, where you take a low price stock and you collapse the number of shares and you make it a high price stock, that's good. There's a whole army of traders that think this way. That's why you see all these dumpster fire stocks take off. Absolute take off. And let me see. I had one of these yesterday. Let me find one. Oh yeah, here it is. This one right here. Absolute dumpster fire, right? But that army on Twitter and Wall Street Bets thinks that's a great sign right there. And then they jump on it and do this crap. What's it likely to do? Right back in the toilet. Why? Look at the chart pattern. It's reverse split here, a reverse split here, wherever it was, right there. This thing is a pile of doo-doo. Stock is a big pile. Giant dumpster fire. I'd throw that up there if I could. Yeah, there you go, in the chat. Yeah. It's a giant dumpster fire. But that whole army of misguided traders jumping in on stuff like this makes it do crazy bull crap. Doesn't matter. If I can make a bunch of money, if I can hit it and quit it, they made money. If you're in it for the long term, probably going back down. But they see something like this, and it has a split, and it gets punished. Stay away, sell it, get out. This one had a bigger split, 50 for 1. Absolutely punished. So be careful. Even the darling got punished when it did its split. It was short-lived. Then it got punished again. This market has been punishing regular splits that traditionally they're a good thing, and rewarding reverse splits that are a sign of a complete dumpster fire. So be careful. LEU probably going higher, 513. Light, keep talking about that one being a good one. AVGO probably coming back to the roadmap line at some point. QQQ we talked about already, has potential to make a lower low based on the futures. VRT has potential to come back to the roadmap line. IVV, let's look at the market dashboard here. S5TW, I really would like to see that touch 20. Stock's above the 20-day moving average. I'd love to see this. You know, we tapped out the top right here. I'd love to see this reset the bottom. Then we could go higher again pretty good. S5FI. Let's take it off log mode so it looks a little better. That one might need to come down to the bottom. So we may have more correction to go. Be careful out there. Even though we're 5% down, it's like why are things being tough to make money in the market? So we topped out over here and we've been grinding it lower ever since. Less and less S&P 500 stocks participating. Less and less and less. And this may go down. S5TH. This one hit the bottom. We're working on this correction. And we may, this one may just kind of hang while the other two correct. And then we pop the top. I think longer term, we still need to hit the top. It's a giant market oscillator. These are all giant market oscillators. We go from the top to the bottom. This is how the market makes money. Take these from the top to the bottom. See, this one happens a lot fast, really fast. This is 20-day moving average. This one's a little slower. And this is the behemoth, really slow. Go from the low, go to the top, go back to the low, go back to the top. So we're on the long time frame, probably not topped out. On the medium time frame, probably looking for the correction to continue. On the fast time frame, still looking for the correction to continue. So be careful. Russell has it hit the bottom, hit the top, almost hit the bottom on the fast one. The medium might need a little more downside, and the slow one doesn't typically hit the top very often. We've been at the bottom for a long time, for like 3 years. It's due for a rip to the top. RSP, when we equal weight the S&P, hadn't really done anything. Like, we're just a little bit off the top. We haven't even really made these big, huge all-time highs. We've just been doing it on a few stocks. This still has room to go to the upside. Move, coming back up. We get above 100. That's the sign that a bigger correction is going to take place. Lumber still being soft. Construction not hitting hard here. We're not seeing giant demand in construction. Construction is like the base driver of all economic output in the country. DGS2, DGS5, DGS10, and DGS20. They're all kind of where you would expect them to be. There are, hold on. That's an uptrend. That's an uptrend. That's an uptrend. They might cut rates. It's getting really close. They don't have a lot of room to cut rates. They could do it. It's going to be really tight. I guess we'll see what happens. I usually like to look at the decliners and try to find stuff that might be bottoming, but there's not a lot of decliners today. Ford, not enough candles to do anything with. UVXY, not really tradable. Did a split today. Road, it might bounce. Look at that. Beautiful extension. Got too far away from the roadmap line. Came back down pretty good. Might set up a bounce. Netties. We tagged that upside target. Did a retrace. Here's the high. Here's the low. Potential 146. 163 on the upside. BBWI. Bath and Body Works. Oh, in the target. Look at that. It's not magic. Hodge. I can't even believe that. I can't even believe that. That was a big ABC right there. Dang. I drop the mic, walk away. Wow. Has a little bit further downside possible, but that might be it. That might be it. PANW. Still working on the bigger upside potential. Retrace the roadmap line after just exceeding the potential 1. Could be a 1-2-1-2. So we got this low, we got this high. Looking for this maybe to come back down to 185 and find support to bounce. Albo Marble. Still looking for this to grind through this resistant zone. And a bunch of leveraged crap. That was Rocket Lab. Or was it? Saw it on the list there. No, Roblox. Roblox is what I saw on the list. Yeah. 3-wave down. Potential support. Could turn and run again. Let's see. Anything else? Wayfair never has. There's Rocket Lab. Rocket Lab. So this is a potential bounce. Here's the high. Here's the low. Looking for that to break back up through. Set up the next run. But if we break on down, we could come back to here. That's where I have my alerts. Kind of wanted to see it down there because I might pick up more puts again. We'll see though. Depends on the market environment. Nothing's guaranteed. Lemonade. At the targets, watch for a pullback. I'll be on Market Masters at 11:30. About an hour. Links in the description if you want to come join me. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. Hunt for opportunity again in the market. Have a great day. See you later.